He who seeks equity must also do equity. And the interest you put in what goes on around you. It starts from listening to news. Don't let this phone be your boss. You are supposed to
be its boss.
So the police can stop you. They have a power of arrest.
Okay.
They have a power of interrogation. But even in doing that, they must also observe, human rights. And the law says that you cannot detain somebody beyond 24 hours without charging that person to court. Anytime judgment is given against the police regarding the infraction of human rights, that it is that particular police that will bear the brunt. To me, it is foolhardy for an unarmed person to begin to argue with an armed personnel.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Facts and Opinions podcast with Ramat and Victor. I hope you enjoyed the last episode of this podcast. And yes, we've promised to continue to bring you exciting episodes with intriguing guests, controversial guests, and so on. And I'm so proud of us that we are moving at that pace. I'm very sure that you are going to enjoy this other episode too and the subsequent ones. I am Ramat Kajola Olanrewaju, and this is the Facts and Opinions podcast. Have you followed us on all social media platforms, on Instagram, on X, on TikTok, on Facebook? Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel at the Facts and Opinions podcast? I hope you do. If you haven't, please do now. So, the platform of the Basbos, the juicy making juicy. Yes, this is not a serious seat because as we are giving you the serious tips, we'll be bringing so many humor to calm your nerves. And that is what we are going to be doing again on this particular episode. With me is my one and only co-host. The only one that knows how to throw jabbing questions that will hit your chest. Mom, we read down question, you right? Okay, are we ready today again?
No, anyways, my name is Ajiboye Oluwa Victor.
Okay.
I'm excited to be here again for another episode of Facts and Opinions podcast. Well, I don't know. I would say I love to do something, a little bit different. So I don't like to do the usual.
Okay.
I like to go another way. I like to, sometimes when I was growing up, my mom said I like corner.
Okay, doing the extra.
I like going.
You don't like a straight road.
I'm going to the corner.
I see you.
To be here again. So, and today is going to be very, very amazing. You're going to love it. Because we have an amazing and well-recognized and so important personality in our midst today who is going to be giving us Please say it. Say it again. You will love this episode.
If the Facts and Opinions podcast throw its net into the river, it's always bringing out a big fish. You don't want to miss this episode. So, Emma Bawakalo.
Alright, so let us amicably introduce our guest to you.
Should we do that?
Let us do it.
Or he should himself?
No, let us first do our own best.
Okay.
Then we allow our guests to give more details. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is with honor I feel so honored to introduce this particular guest to you because this guest is somebody that is, endowed with a lot of knowledge.
Exactly.
A lot of things that will actually impact you.
Yes.
As individual and as a group and whatever you are. So, and ladies and gentlemen, this guest.
Calm down. Calm down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's no other person but the NBA chairman or
Oyo State chapter.
Ladies and
Make some
gentlemen.
noise. I would love him to rather introduce himself properly to our audience viewing and listening to this particular episode. Story Yorùbá ni ẹnu oníkan báyìí láti máa ń gbọ́ pọ̀n. Èyàn ò dẹ̀ kí máa rẹ̀ èyàn ó mẹ́lòmíì ìjúwe bí ẹni tó ní ìjúwe gangan fúnra lára ẹ̀. So I would really urge my guest to kindly please introduce himself to our audience.
Well, my name is Ibrahim Lawal. I'm the chairman, MBA, Nigerian Bar Association, Ibadan branch. I'm also the head of chambers, Olujimi and Akeredolu of the Law Hub, Ring Road, Ibadan.
A big one. Let's ignore you. Amòfin. Amòfin làgbé wa káyé wọlé. So don't get mad, get a lawyer. That's what they say. Yes, it's always on their cars. So whenever I see that slogan on their cars, I'm always, don't get mad, get a lawyer.
I think that's one of the best marketing this thing I've seen.
No, because if you get mad, you take laws into your hand. And at the end of the day, you now become the villain. So it is better for you to sue the idiots rather than to get mad.
Wow.
And do the unthinkable.
Can you hear that? I am very glad that you really do. So let's delve into one or two questions, Mr. Ibrahim Lawal. You are a professional lawyer. As we've seen, you have heard so many interviews that you have granted and so on. But the Facts and Opinions podcast is not just a regular platform for a regular interview. It's an avenue that we dig deep inside a particular topic, area of interest, and so on. Most Nigerians, to be precise, if I'm to say, I'm really not saying this about facts, I'm taking this on an opinion that most Nigerians are not educated. And the few that are even educated, most do not even know their rights, their obligations, their duty as a citizen of this country. Not to talk of people that does not even have the opportunity to pass through the four walls of classroom. Now, in the slogan that we used as our introduction the other time, don't get mad, get a lawyer. Somebody who is not learned will not be able to understand this. That's okay, a particular incident happened in around Ibadan, our local government, if I'm not mistaken, where a particular man was arrested. I think they caught 2 human scores or 1 human score with him around on our local government. And the residents of the area were very diligent about it. There was no beating, there was no harassment and all. So they only handed him over to the police. And the police are taking the right steps on it. The thing is, most people take laws into their hands just because maybe they don't know what they should do, or maybe they think if they hand such person to the police, they may close the case. They will not hear anything about it. And most of my listeners on radio will tell me that if they arrest a particular suspect, okay, like this particular man, they have caught him with human score. Why is he being tagged a suspected criminal? Why not a criminal? Why shouldn't we tag him a criminal? Because we've already seen what we can, to handle him as a criminal. You as a lawyer should be able to explain to our audience why they should not be tagged as criminal. Why is it suspected criminal?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, the Constitution is very clear as to the status of an accused person. They said an accused person is presumed innocent until he is found guilty.
Okay.
It is only the court of law that can say that somebody is guilty or is not guilty.
Okay.
And until that person is adjudged to have been guilty and convicted and sentenced to death, he remains a suspect.
Even with concrete evidence.
Even with evidence that you have, because you still have to go to the law court to prove that he actually committed that offense. But because if you straight away says that he's an accused, is a criminal, you have passed judgment.
Okay.
So that provision will not inure to his own benefit. There are times that even when you see a particular contraband with a person, it might not even be the one responsible. Okay. So you still need to do further investigation to know how they came about it. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
You said you found woman's skull maybe in their vehicle or what have you. One of them might just be lifted. It might not even be part of those that committed the act. It might not even be aware that such a thing is in that vehicle. It has happened so many times. So if you just tag them and condemn them, then you have not done justice to that provision that said they are presumed innocent. There are cases when people will accuse a person of committing a crime. And by the time you begin investigation, it might not even be at the scene of the crime. Wow. It might not be around. So investigation will reveal whether he's actually culpable or not. Even after investigation, he still remains a suspect until such person is arraigned. And those who did the investigation will have to come to court to tender those evidence and prove the culpability or otherwise of such person. So it is the constitutional right of a person suspected to have committed an offense to still remain innocent until he is found guilty of such offense. Wow. And for those, I've heard the sing song several times that when an accused person is handed over to the police, they won't hear anything. More often than not, when somebody is arrested and handed over to the police, people don't also follow up.
Okay.
You need witnesses before you can prosecute. The police are not there at the scene. They needed people who could give evidence in support of those allegations. We have also had cases of people that will say, this person had done something to me, and the guy is arrested. If it is in an area where they took laws into their hand, they would have beaten that person to death, only to discover that that person lied against him. So investigation at times reveal a lot of things, So it is not in the interest of justice to straightforwardly, condemn somebody as a criminal without proper investigation. Wow. I listened to one of the program on Fresh FM, IFLS program, the last one he did. Okay. There are two persons that were sentenced to death and they were on the death row for 25 years. Wow. They actually did not commit the offense. My God. They were tortured to the extent that they had to accept
that they committed it. Oh my goodness.
There are two guys who wanted to do Ogunwu and they killed a woman. The husband of the woman even came to say he did not know these two persons. In fact, the other guy just, escorted his friend to the police station. And so they picked him. So more often than not, it is not everyone that is accused of committing a crime that actually committed that crime. And that's why Yoruba says that so those are the things, and that is why it is important, to allow that provision of the Constitution that says that an accused person is presumed innocent until he is found guilty to inure to the benefit of the accused person. In fact, any doubt in the presentation of cases will be resolved in favor of the accused person. That's why they said you must prove your case beyond reasonable doubt. Any iota of doubt will be resolved in favor of the accused person because we are talking about the liberty of an individual. Before you take away liberty of an individual, you must have done your
Proper
homework very well.
investigation. Talking about human rights, you as a lawyer, I'm even glad that you are the chairman, MBA Ibadan branch. So that means I'm asking from a very good source about human rights in Nigeria. I've said earlier that most Nigerians don't even know their rights, their duties, their obligations as citizens. Is there anything the Nigerian Bar Association is doing, maybe in a way of enlightening the citizens about their rights, about their duties, about their obligations to the country? Is there anything NBA is doing?
Yes, we do. You see, the plank upon which the NBA is erected is on the protection of the rule of law, because rule of law encompasses everything, human rights inclusive. And part of it is that there is the constitution guaranteed right to live. You cannot just take anybody's life. You have rights to movement, right of association, right to religious belief and conscience. You also have a right, to education, even if that one is not justiciable. But you have a right, and those rights are enshrined in Chapter 4 of our Constitution.
Okay.
And these are an inalienable right that cannot just be taken away. You have a right to own properties, but as you have that right, there are even limitations too. It's like you have a right to fling your hand, but you do not also have that right. The right does not extend to
punch another person.
To punch another person. So there are limitations to rights. But these are inalienable rights that when it is taken away from you, you have a right to challenge those infractions. And like I said, MBA is erected on the pillar of protection of rule of law.
Okay.
And particularly, the vice chairman of the bar is constitutionally empowered to be chairman of Human Rights Committee of the bar. And so more often than not, we take up cases of abuse of human rights pro bono. When you talk about pro bono, without collecting money, when we see that rights are violated, for those who are indigent, who could not also fight for their rights. MBA human rights is different from this so-called human right that you see outside the caricature human right. These are not lawyers. They sit somewhere, they say they are human rights. They will collect money from people that comes to them and stuff like that. That's not the kind of human right I am talking here. I'm talking about human rights protection in the true sense of it. And we do a lot of advocacies. In fact, our last law week, we took our advocacies to garages.
Okay.
To enable them know markets and garages, to enable them know that these are their rights and these are things they could do if there are infractions. And we're able to tell them you can approach us as a bar, to also ventilate, your grievances. We also take up public interest litigations.
Okay.
Issues that affect, a lot of us, everyone in the society. We go to court, we ventilate it for a definite pronouncement or to restrain government from going ahead with such things. So these are the things we do as a bar association.
All right, so regarding that illustration you gave us about getting a lawyer and all that. So I want to talk about this particular human right. So we have some instance where a citizen is apprehended by police, and there are some of these things that police are not supposed to do to citizens. It is not their right to do it to citizens. For instance, you have no right to just stop me on the way and assume I'm a Yahoo guy. You understand? And assume I'm a Yahoo guy. Then start collecting my properties from me.
Checking your phones.
Because you saw my appearance as if, or that appearance projects to you that this guy, the way you look like a Yahoo guy. Then you start searching me. dip your hands in my pockets, you're taking my money from me. Or some of the time we have seen situations where citizens start educating the police. You can't do this, it is my right to do this, it's my right to do that. But police would not even listen to that. They will tell you that you know you're right, Abi, you know right, you're right, Abi, and then they carry you.
The next thing you open your eyes now, cell.
In their cell. So some of these times we discover that even as citizens, when you try to tell people, for instance, the law enforcement agencies, when you try to tell them that this is it is you can't do this to me. My right says you cannot do this to me, and they try to let you know that even if it is your right to do this thing, we will still arrest you for it. So some of the time, the problem is not with the citizens. Some of the time, the police, and we have seen situations where police and lawyers have issues on this particular human right. So there was a situation where a guy was arrested and was taken to he was a suspect to a particular thing that happened in the community. So he was arrested because he felt that he doesn't stay in the house. So it's this kind of person that doesn't stay in the house, he travels a lot. So they feel like this person is involved in some criminal activity. So the police came, took him to their cell, and so if it was for interrogation, it would have been okay. But the next thing was he was detained for no reason. So he was, I think the story we had was he told the police that he needs to call his lawyer for that, but they did not allow him to do that.
To call his lawyer.
So in situations like this, what efforts has been taken by the Nigerian Bar Association to make sure that the law enforcement agencies do not violate the human rights too? Because sometimes it is not even the citizen violating their own rights. Sometimes the law enforcement agency also violates human rights.
Well, let me start by saying that the Police Act, particularly Section 4 of the Police Act, empowers the police to make arrest on reasonable suspicion.
Okay.
So the police can stop you. They have a power of arrest.
Okay.
They have a power of interrogation. But even in doing that, they must also observe, human rights. And the law says that you cannot detain somebody beyond 24 hours without charging that person to court. The Constitution also says that a suspect is entitled to the solicitors of his choice. Even in writing statement, he might decide not to write until his solicitor is around and what have you. Well, there are a lot of education around it, and I know that because of the fact that there are a lot of cases of abuse of human rights that had been taken against the police. I know that it is now, because the thing is getting too louder, the police now told those their men that any time judgment is given against the police regarding the infraction of human rights, that it is that particular police that will bear the brunt. So they are always very careful now. When you file human rights case against them, they would quickly withdraw. But that does not take away their right to suspect you.
Okay.
They have the power under the law. But it's not for them to now begin to check your phones and what have you. The thing is that you do not even need to argue with. It is, to me, it is foolhardy for an unarmed person to begin to argue with an armed personnel. Because they might be under the influence of alcohol. They might be anything. And if you are killed, then you can document those events and at the end of the day go to court and damnify them in cost. So it is, wisdom is profitable in the circumstance. What you need to do is that when things like that happen to you, document it and challenge it in court.
Okay.
And you get a lot of money from it.
Wow, that's good.
Sorry, there is this thing that has been troubling me.
Okay.
So I want to know, or people would want to know, what measure has been taken by this is particularly about the judiciary system of the country.
Government.
So a lot of people have lost their confidence in the judiciary system of this country.
Why?
We've seen a lot of instances online. We've seen a lot of activists come online saying that Nigerian justice system is corrupt. We've seen so many people like that. We've seen a lot of examples online. And then the question is, what measure has been taken to really, separate the influence of political influence from the judiciary system? Because we've seen so many situations where political influence has, in so many ways,
affected our judicial system.
Our judiciary system. So, I don't know. A lot of people seem to not have faith in the judiciary system of this country anymore. So we've seen so many instances. In fact, we can. I don't want to mention it. We've seen so many people.
Please do. You see the problem I have with this generation is that a lot of you rely on social media and beer parlor gossips. And I don't feel sorry to say it.
Wow.
More often than not, when people approach the court and the court is not doing their bidding, they begin to gaslight. And let me give you an example.
Okay.
Obi that went to court. You understand? And they felt that the judiciary would just hand him the presidency. He did not win. There was no evidence, to support his claim of winning the election. We followed it. There was no evidence at all. Only for people that you people follow on X to begin to gaslight this. You are not, more often than not, people are not fear to the judiciary. I am not saying there are no
lapses,
bad eggs, as we have in other spheres of society. But it is not as bad as people are, stating it. When judiciary gives them judgment that appears to be favorable, they will praise judiciary. When people don't have that spirit of sportsmanship, and that's why they want to gaslight anything. Even INEC, when INEC conduct election and Obi won in Lagos, INEC has done the best. When he lost, generally, INEC will have to be taken to the Golgotha because it does not. So people should be able to query some things. You should be able to interrogate reasons why this thing happened. People will come out and say, people who do not even understand what those parties filed in court will come out and begin to rubbish whatever came out of that proceedings. You see, court has never been a Father Christmas.
Okay.
It is relief you sought from court and your ability to also support your claim with evidence that will determine the success or otherwise of your case. So most of the people who comment on judgment of courts are not lawyers who are part of that process. They did not even read what those lawyers filed. They just conclude by saying that what the judges have done is wrong, like the Presidential Election Tribunal. And they said that judiciary was compromised. Would they just award judgment to somebody who had failed? They said he who has sat must prove. If you claim I have done something, it is your responsibility to prove. If you catch a thief now, and you said the thief stole so and so, yes, like the FCC normally does, you must give concrete evidence to actually show that this person indeed stole. But your failure to do that, and like I said, I told you earlier that every slight of doubt will be resolved in favor of the accused person. But you have to prove your case beyond reasonable doubt. So if you are talking about judiciary being corrupt, you must be able to pin it down to specifics. What are those cases? Let us discuss about it. So I do not subscribe to the general notion that people had lost confidence. Who are those people? The same persons that when their rights are trampled upon, they go back to the same courts that they said they have lost confidence. And let me tell you, even the condition under which judges operate, nobody is talking about it.
Okay.
In the last 16 years, they were on the same salary. Until recently, when Ashwaju
yes, just signed a 300% increase.
They have been on the same salary. No government even give it a thought to even review their salary. Yet you say they are corrupt. When every year a civil servant will get one notch or the other, they do not get. That is not to say that one is giving explanation for whatever that is, but we must also look at he who seeks equity must also do equity. So it's very fundamental. And even the quality of support staffs that you have in the judiciary are not so attractive because of the salary structure in the judiciary. We need to also review those structures to attract competent people to come into the judiciary. It is not just judges. When you talk about corruption in the judiciary, not that, in fact, there are cases the judges will not even collect anything. We have some people who collect bribe on behalf of judges who will not even be aware.
Wow.
You go to court, the court clerks and what have you, we want to file anything, they collect money. They were not sent by either magistrate or judges to do on their behalf.
So does it mean that this recent increase in the judges' salary does not affect all other workers in the judicial system?
It is for judges.
Just judges?
Judges. For judges at least. Maybe that would be a starting point. Maybe they would also review their own, but it is for judges, And so we have to be careful when we do a blanket condemnation about, because the truth of the matter is that we cannot afford to destroy our institution. We have nowhere to run to. We must be very careful to talk about our country every time in the negative. Truth be told, now electricity supply had improved.
Yes.
Nobody is talking about it. But let there be any negative things.
I think people are talking about it.
I didn't hear.
until they were asked.
The Nigerian mentality. Maybe it's because of the
weather. Or maybe they just want to, tip us off.
But the reality is that if you dig deep, that is why I said, I am afraid of this your generation.
Wow.
and why did I say so? Inclusive my children. You are not interested in the news. Those children prefer watching cartoon or wrestling or anything. Even when you put it in the news, they will just walk out. So we don't interrogate. For your information, you know that our electricity was based on hydro before. Yeah. But now it is 70% gas. And that is what is responsible for this improvement.
Okay.
But you will not even read it.
Now we know.
Can you imagine at this level?
Yeah, I know. She's just
so
look at you.
That is as educated as some of you, because you didn't interrogate. My son actually told me that the reason why the increase in increment is that because they now rely on gas. I had to now go and read. He gave me even the effort of the federal government now to actually face the health sector and encourage those that have jackpot to come
back to Nigeria. Yes,
there is a policy that my son said. My son is in
the president just signed it.
Level engineering students, but I've so trained him not to follow the
regular trends.
So he was able to interrogate a lot of things and tells me that the way and manner the government is going, in the next 2 years, things would change in terms of the economy and stuff like that. But if he had followed the popular trend, he won't even have
that information.
So I am afraid of the generation coming behind us. Because somebody will just sit, because he has cheap data, will just writings and they begin to circulate it, they will not also interrogate what that person had written. And it is so dangerous to us. If this country goes down today, which country would accommodate us with our strength? So we need to change our orientation. And condemn where necessary and praise where necessary.
Okay, I'll be coming from that angle, sir. Particularly about this Gen Z generation now. I think ẹ̀yin àgbàlagbà náà lè pòwe tí ẹ sọ pé mi tó wé pa wájú yín pé amúkan ẹrù ẹ wọ́ òkèlè ń wò ẹ wò sàlẹ̀. I think this is coming from the roots. And where is that root? The root is most children now does not even have okay, we have access to phones. We can Google any questions that we love to get their answers and all. But I don't think schools do history anymore. So many upcoming children of now don't even know much about the history of this nation. Okay, there was a particular program I was asked to anchor on my station that I work with. I had that fear of how am I going to handle it? Because it entails political lines. And I really don't know much about the politics of Nigeria. Why? Because most of my history education that I had was just in primary education. The secondary level was not really there because most of us were like running for history then. I don't want to do history. I prefer to go and just do food and nutrition. I'm not doing history. Maybe if it had been enforced in our school curriculum to have history as a core course, maybe we would have had interest in knowing more about the story, the history of this country. It is coming from the government too. But I think you're only, putting the blame on just the children.
Well, I don't know. I did not do history when I was in the secondary school. So
okay.
to tell you, most of the things, most of the interests that we picked are from our dads. My dad will send me to go and buy Sketch and Tribune, and I will be forced to read. In fact, your generation is supposed to be versatile than us, because at the tip of your fingertips, you have a lot of information. It's just that you are not interested.
Exactly.
You are not interested in what goes around you. Even history that you talk about, history of Mansa Musa, that's what they will teach you in history. Nobody teach you about political decisions. You see, the thing is that acquiring knowledge has to do with self-development.
Okay.
And the interest you put in what goes on around you. It starts from listening to news. It starts from reading things that has to do with even the word politics. Will anybody sit you down and begin to tell you? People follow news, CNN, Al Jazeera, to know what is going on in the world. But your generation is interested in sports.
I think there are so many distractions.
It's not about distraction. It's about setting your priority right.
Exactly.
You cannot be a deep person without somebody that is reading. A lot of your generations, how many books are they reading? We read a lot of books. Boys, how many books have you read? There are trees and books. There are a lot of books that we go and buy at the bookshop. These are not books that they are going to examine us on, including Yoruba texts that you will read. Because reading, a society that relegated reading to the background cannot develop. So the thing is that most things that are not important are the ones that we put. How would I sit down and be watching people that lock themselves inside a room for a whole month? Does it make sense to you? Yes. Or 3 months? And they will be 3 months. I will be saying that with relish. I don't even know their name.
I think
ordinary politics.
that is sponsored by the government. Government, we have a lot of
government was it government that sponsored Big Brother Africa? It
yes,
is not government.
Nigerian government sponsored.
Nigerian government did not sponsor it.
Really?
Yes, so the Nigerian government, can you imagine? See,
That was
Nigerian government, is it on NTA? It wasn't.
No.
It wasn't. It was program. Maybe it was on DSTV. Is it not a South African thing?
That's what I'm trying
Government
to say,
did
sir.
not pay.
Yes, sir. It used to be Big Brother Africa. So government
Big Brother Naija.
changed from
Government
Big
did
Brother
not.
Africa to
No.
Big
Go and
Brother
do.
Nigeria.
No. Government will not put his
But what
money.
happened to Guinness
Guinness
Ultimate Search?
Search.
Is
It
it?
was sponsored by the government, but all of a sudden it went down.
The Good Ultimate Search was not sponsored by the government. It was sponsored by the by Gouda as a
itself.
brand.
Okay, so
So if they don't get sponsors again, it will go down. Government cannot sponsor that kind of. Government Government do not invest in such things.
Okay,
That's
then
the
why
problem.
can't it be?
That's the problem. Most of the programs you do on your channels is it government sponsored?
No.
It doesn't. They look for sponsors. Somebody will just sit down and write a proposal and say we want to do. Okay, this podcast that you are doing, is it government sponsored?
No.
It's your idea, so it can gain traction and become popular. It is still part of your freedom of expression. You understand?
Yeah.
Government does not. If government wants to sponsor anything, they will go to NTA now. Or their FRCN.
People-
You
Radio
understand?
Nigeria.
They don't, so these are the things. The thing is that we must reorientate our children. I know that a lot of issues that we face in society comes from the failure of parenting. Because parents of late 90s and early 2000 believe that money does everything.
Exactly.
And so they do not also impact the right values into their children. In fact, it starts from Ọmọ mi ò gbọdọ̀ sọ Yorùbá,
Yes.
which is also killing our culture. It's killing our values. Why will your children not speak your language? An average Igbo person, even if he is born in America, will speak Igbo.
Yes.
An Hausa man will speak. It is only us here. And we think that we are
Better.
We are better. We are not.
We are on it.
Any society that does not put value in its culture and tradition will go into oblivion. So it's so important and fundamental. So you have to impress it on your generation. The way you, and that's why when you take on some persons, when they begin to blab on X or any, they will resort to abuse. Abuse is done by people that are not intelligent. You can make your point without insulting the other person. That you will make that point, and that person will also. There are
Get
ways by
your
which you can reply a person and actually tell him he's stupid without telling him that he's a stupid person. It is a question or it's a reflection of how deep you are and how knowledgeable you are. If you are knowledgeable, you don't need to resort to abuse
Wow.
before you make your points, you know. So we need to go back to the roots. There are books that people will have to read. If you pick up books essentially about Nigeria, there are nothing that you want to talk about Nigeria. There is a guy, Karowe Adini, is on Facebook. Young guy like you, is an engineer. When he writes, he will go back to the basis, even First Republic, Second Republic, engineer. You know, because he was well read. When he was in university, he would read everything readable. And so, eminently qualified, you know, to talk about policies. And he will not just join bandwagons. You know, those are the people that our people should follow to actually know that, this is what, so that you can make an informed opinion on issues. It's very important, but we are losing it, you know. People don't read. When you engage people in discussion, you see how shallow and hollow they are. Because an unread mind is like, there's no difference between an unread mind and an almajiri in the north. That's the truth. Because if you say you are educated and actually
there is no difference.
there is no difference
of you and a person that's an educated illiterate.
Yes, now it is not even what you. Most of the experiences or the knowledge you get are not things you get within the four walls of the classroom.
Yes.
It is those things you acquired even outside the classroom.
Yes.
That makes you a solid person. That is, a well-educated person cannot be led by the nose, either by an imam or a pastor. There are certain things that they will say and you know that it does not make sense. It's as simple as that. You will query it, you know. But it is that education. So it is not about going to school, passing your exam that they call education. No, it goes beyond it. It goes beyond it.
Because people just only read to pass now.
Yes, now you need to do, you know, self-development. Self-development is key. And the way we do our own research is different from yours.
Okay.
Then when we want to do research, we have to go to library. You can be on your bed and do research.
Do our own.
So I thought that with technology, your own this thing should be easier.
I was talking about distraction the other time. Being easier using technology. There are so many distractions on technology.
I agree.
Yes.
We can't fight that. So that is why I'm talking about. That's why I'm exactly. That's why I'm talking about regulation the other time. There are other countries that they don't allow TikTok to be used, but we used almost every app in Nigeria. Any app by automatic
there was the Nigerian government was going to censor.
You people cried out now and said that they are limiting you. You see. Like my wife would tell my children when they in my house, it is a rule until you finish your work and pass your JAMB, you can't have a phone. But the day you pass your work and your JAMB, I will take you to phone store.
Pick your choice.
Pick your choice, and I will pay. Because a child will be distracted by the usage of phones.
Exactly.
A secondary school student, what does he need a phone for? You know. So when we now buy that phone, my wife will now cancel. Don't let this phone be your boss. You are supposed to
be its boss.
So it is not every time you must be on phone, unless it is necessary. So you must be able to
things.
Correct and direct the way and manner you are going to use your phones. And that even if you want to use, let the educational purpose have an overriding thing more than any other thing. Phones are meant to be educated. It's also for recreation. The education part of it is fundamental. So you need maturity to also make use of technology. So it's very important. A lot of children have been exposed to things that they shouldn't have been exposed to early in their life.
Yes.
And that has affected their psyche. It has also made them so lazy intellectually.
They become so driven by
a slave to
exactly.
that. Yes, now,
and that is what is making a 14-year-old boy to gang up with his other friends of the same age group to want to engage in ritual
that's the
process.
thing now, because that's what they see
online.
Exactly.
That's what they see.
I saw a video of a young girl. She's 17. She's not even 18. She's 17. She's staying alone. And she already had a kid at 15.
Imagine.
She said her boyfriend even gives the parents money at home.
Imagine.
So even some of these things are not even the children's fault.
That's the problem. And okay, even the Yahoo people now, they have association of Yahoo mothers.
Yes.
Some people will take their children to those that will train them for Yahoo. Value system had collapsed. When we are growing, when we are young, and somebody just comes to town with a lot of money, your parents will warn you. Don't go there.
Exactly. Don't pick money on the floor. Don't collect money from strangers.
Don't bring any strange thing to the house.
To the house.
Because how would you? Because my dad will ask you, where did you get it?
How? Even a pencil.
That someone gave it to me.
Nibo.
Sometimes in some cases you get discipline.
Disciplined, yeah, for that. Exactly. But when you in a situation where it is a young boy of, say, 13, 14,
yes,
bringing money to the parents, bringing cars home, and the parents will also celebrate it. So those are issues. It is multifarious. And we need to make conscious decision. Now, you are mothers, you are fathers now. You must make conscious decision to move away from the trend.
Yes.
And ensure that you properly train your child. My daughter is in the University of Ibadan. When we got an accommodation for her in one of the private hostels within the university. And on our first day, there are women who came to tidy up things for not our, for those other students and what have you. So my daughter now greeted the woman and said, "Ẹ káàárọ̀ ma." The woman was shocked.
That she greeted in Yoruba?
That she greeted in Yoruba and that she actually greeted. Ṣé wọ́n ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ dé ni ó ní bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mà?
Àbájọ.
Ó ṣoríire.
Àmín.
Ó sọ Yorùbá. And you know, things like that. She was now telling me that most of those that they live in this thing, girls who ordered food morning, afternoon, and night. That was only herself and their roommate that cook. These are mothers of tomorrow. In fact, they could not even wash their plates. The women will come to wash plates for them.
They pay.
They pay. They will come and wash clothes for them. It's only my daughter and the roommate that will wash their
clothes, their plates.
From day one, my wife will not even allow my daughter to use a washing machine to wash her clothes. She has been washing her clothes by herself from primary school.
Wow.
So she knew all those things. Because you said, times can change. You don't even know who you are going to marry. Why can't we give you the
proper training?
And she's enjoying it
now.
You know, so we need to make conscious efforts to train not only our daughters, our boys, our sons, so that they also appreciate what women does.
Yes.
We don't do it. We leave our children in the cares of even those who are supposed to be children themselves, and go in search of money. And we think that with money, and that is why a lot of parents do not even know their children.
Yes.
They don't. So when they now say they committed crime, they are into courtism, they are into this, they will be saying, it's a destiny child. He could not have done that. They don't know that it is a different thing. Because who gave them the training? You are not there when they needed to be molded. Must realize that the country belongs to all of us. Yes. And that we have no other place to go. Even those who are jackpot, what is their percentage? To the numbers of some people of us that are still around who believe. I believe so much in this country. When I travel abroad, the highest period I have stayed in the US was 2 weeks. The last time I was there, I expected this. You like
thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
It's too dull for my life.
You want the bass blues of this country?
Nigeria.
The weather and everything. Cruise station.
What are you saying? You do almost the same thing here every day. It's too mechanical too for my liking. Tí mo dé gbogbo dákẹ́ lọ nígbà tí mo wọ airport bí
àti bá Rosie o ṣe.
And that's one beautiful thing about Nigeria.
That if you have your money if you have you live a quality of kọjá yìí.
Yes,
the day that you see the best. That's why you see even those who travel abroad look forward to coming back home. Nigeria ìlú olókìkí ni, and it's going to be nice. That's why I subscribe to Ayuba's Kowo. Nigeria ò ní wó.
Àmín, Nigeria ò ní wó. Láṣẹ Elédùmarè. Thank you so much for being on the Facts and Opinions podcast. I believe our audience have learned one or two because we've told them that it will always be educative, entertaining, and informative. I believe this particular episode has also cut across all those three angles that I've mentioned. Have you followed us on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, on TikTok? Subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Facts and Opinions podcast to keep enjoying more exciting episodes of the Facts and Opinions podcast. A very big shout out to Cadence Apartments, Elele Ologunẹru Road, Ibadan. A very big shout out to you guys. La Pops Visuals, a very big shout out to you. We love you guys. Thank you so much for being on ground. Mr. Femi, thank you so much. We love you guys. Thank you for being on seat, on ground for us every time. And a very big shout out to who is the maker of this your way, your
Sir, so I want to market this person to you. So this person can do Oxy. She did this for us.
Oh, amazing.
Yes, that is no other person than Arabi. So she's very creative with all these things. She did it. I didn't know she was going to do this. So I just saw something on her status. I was like, where's my own now? And she just said, no, I'm coming up with something very creative. And she did this. And that, I'm grateful. I'm glad you talk about this, my way. So that is to tell you that our beautiful Arabi Ramat is so intelligent and she's very creative with anything. So you can patronize her, sir. You can patronize her. And viewers, you can do if you like patronize.
You can patronize though. This my Indian bangle too. It's from Arabiruni Lekiamo. Thank you so much, Arabiruni Lekiamo, the brand, for supporting the Facts and Opinions podcast. We hope that next episode I will be bringing to your screen will be another amazing one. Thank you so much for listening and for watching this particular episode. I still remain one of your favorite hosts on the screen, Ramat Kajola Olaruwaju, with my co-host
Ajiboye Oluwa Victor. Thank you very much for watching.
Shala.